Hi everyone, Canchester Mitty here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review. This side of swapping letters of sports teams around is pretty fun. And today, we're going to be doing a review of the new Callous Daoboys album, Celebrity Therapist. Okay, so there have been times in my life where I'm listening to a record and I'm immediately struck with something raw, real, exciting and fresh. I felt this with Haken's The Mountain, I felt it with Between the Buried and Me's Colours, and recently I felt it with Dune's Etman Anchor, and I'm feeling it with the Callous Daoboys' Celebrity Therapist. I do sometimes worry maybe that I'm perhaps jumping the gun with these feelings, but the more that I listen to Celebrity Therapist, the more that I know what I'm feeling is real. This is a modern classic that is certain to go down in musical history as a turning point in the mathcore genre, just like Dillinger's Calculating Infinity was back in 1999. Okay, look, I'm going to be honest with you all. Mathcore isn't usually in my grab bag, so to speak, and as such, it takes a genuinely remarkable band to spark my interest in the genre, and more importantly, to hold it. The aforementioned Dillinger Escape Plan did this, as did Horse, the Band, and Converge. And I am very pleased to be able to add the Callous Daoboys to my list of mathcore bands what are really good and make great music and stuff. I first heard of the band through one of my other favourites of this year, from Rolo Tomasi, from their Twitter feed, as they've been touring together this year, and they sort of said, like, hey, go listen to these guys, they're very great. And of course, where Rolo Tomasi recommends, I will follow. But I was not ready or even remotely prepared for what I was to listen to. Hailing from scenic Atlanta, Georgia, the Callous Daoboys are reasonably new to the scene, with Celebrity Therapist being their third full-length release following their debut Animal Tetris and sophomore Die on Mars. And it has thoroughly smashed all of my expectations I might have had prior to going into this review with gusto and violence. This album is, for lack of a better description, chaos. Pure, unfiltered, manic insanity, the likes of which we don't get treated to especially often, but we are eternally grateful for when we do. There is so much going on here in every single one of the 8 songs on offer, and it is utterly overwhelming on an initial listen, forming the musical equivalent of having a gang of coked up angry squirrels jumping up and down on you in the middle of the night whilst bashing your expensive kitchenware with large hammers. The record clocks in at a relatively brief 37 minutes, but I think any longer than that would be too much, too overwhelming for the senses, and as such I do feel that this is kind of the perfect length for a record like this. The sheer amount of stuff going on cannot be understated. I can imagine looking at the sheet music for a song like A Brief Article Regarding Time Loops, and it would be like looking at a Rorschach diagram from hell. And I mean that in the most complimentary way that I can, as the sheer talent it must take for the band to be able to even remotely recreate this music must be off the charts. And that's kind of ultimately what I really like about this record, though. In spite of the sonic assault on every single one of your senses, every instrument here is being played with a masterstroke of technical ability and compositional genius. Repeated listens to Celebrity Therapist are incredibly rewarding, as you can really pick out something new every single time you hit play. But the more you listen to this, the more you will see through the chaos. You see past this tonal melange of noise, and you will begin to appreciate things like the incredibly well thought out lyrics, the perfectly timed melodies, amongst many other parts. Once you get over the potential sticking point of this chaos, and learn to appreciate that's just kind of what mathcore is, bro, you'll start to notice just how well paced this album is. You've got this initial salvo of violent astrology, a brief article regarding time loops, and Beautiful Dude Missile, which is a great name for a song, by the way, to keep your heart pumping. But it's around the midway point of the record, when title track kicks in, that the Daoboys show that they really do respect your time. They slow things down, give you a breather in the eye of a storm, and we're treated to some really fantastic layered harmonic vocals and some almost Tool-like sounding guitars. Atmospheric soundscapes swell and keep you grounded, all the while with lead vocalist Carson Pace acting as this magnificent lightning rod for all of the madness. His enormous presence is something of the likes we haven't seen since Greg Puciato burst into our eardrums in the late 90s. And while, yes, his delivery isn't dissimilar to Greg's, he does manage to make it his own, and he oozes this great bombastic personality that really helps to keep the dissonance of the music on track to sounding as infectiously addictive as it is. The second half of the record consists of Field Sobriety Practice, The Elephant Man in the Room, and What is Delicious, Who Swarms? These all manage to carry on the established patterns set on early in the record, but they somehow manage to keep on turning things up, even past the mythical 11. There's so much instrumentation going on here that it's kind of difficult to really say what parts of this record sound the best, as honestly everyone's going to have a differing opinion on this, based simply on the fact that there are just so many ingredients to this chaotic pie. Personally though, I'm a huge fan of Sam Williamson's frenzied drumming, which just does not subscribe to traditional melodies or time signatures, at all. But regardless of this, it manages to form these passages and fills that have just stuck in my head like crazy glue for days now. Either that or it's Whitney Jordan's beautiful backing vocals that undercut Carson Pace at just the right times so as to add a layer of sweetness to the otherwise angry sour. Whatever your flavour, this album will have something for you to latch onto. The hard part will be catching it though, as everything moves so quickly and so frenetically that it can frequently be a case of blink and you'll miss it musical phrase or passing. But this once again just makes this album so replayable. I span it about 5 times in a row, I think it was the other day, and each time I found a new segment to obsess over or another lyric that just sounded so melodic and brilliant. Speaking of brilliant, there's one song that I haven't talked about yet, and that is the album closer Star Baby. If there's one thing that the Callous Daoboys have done with this record, it is reward the listener. I feel that as the audience to their stream of consciousness, this album gives me so much back for the time that I've spent with it, and nothing encapsulates this feeling more than Star Baby. It starts out, familiar enough with the acidic mix of off-kilter instrumentation being ever-present, and it definitely feels like a product of the same record that you've been listening to up until this point. Then at around about 2/3 or so of the way through, I think it is, it just explodes. It segues into this absolutely ridiculous near Broadway musical sound with this stunning vocal melody and this saxophone just comes in and it just refuses to leave my head. And I don't think it ever will. It feels like an enormous celebration to making it to the end of this record. Almost like the band is saying, you know what, thanks for listening, here's your big send-off, you have been a terrific audience. This album is a lot. It's overwhelming at first, but if you persevere, you'll see the beauty underneath the madness. And then, as it all comes to a close, Star Baby comes in and lifts you up on its shoulders and will send you into the sunset with the biggest shit-eating grin on your face. This is, hands down, one of the most exciting, thrilling, original and creative records I have heard in my 36 years on this planet. And the Callous Daoboys have jumped up to the top of my hype league in leaps and bounds. So, what else can I say about the Celebrity Therapist at this point? I mean, I am not often completely floored by a band with just like my first listen with them, but the Callous Daoboys have crafted something so meticulous, so precise, and so utterly bewitching that to call this anything less than a genre classic would be a huge disservice. You may or may not be a Mathcore fan. I mean, if you are, then you're probably already salivating over this release. But if you're not, or you've been on the fence about the genre, then I'd consider this to be one of the best examples of Mathcore released in the last 20 years. Also, Star Baby is almost certainly going to be my song of the year. It absolutely slaps. you need to listen to it. Just go now, just now, straight away. This is all, of course, my opinion, as you know, so tell me what you thought of this record in the comments below. If you've anything you've listened to this year you think I should check out, let me know about it. Maybe I'll get around to giving it my own thoughts. If you like this video, please do thumb it up, share it with anyone who you think might enjoy it. Also, as well, of course, consider subscribing for more content, because I'm putting out more videos these days. It's great. Lots of good music coming out. Till next time, guys, keep your rhyme signatures odd.